let me show you how to add an event from scratch. This is where everybody's going to start. Okay, so you're back at your home screen and you have this create event button right here. We're going to hit create event. And it's going to say, let's start with the basics. Okay, and this for you is always going to be an official high school event. Okay, every one of your matches you're going to record a score for is an official event. So click on official. All you're going to enter here is dual match. It's a dual match between two teams. You're going to search for your opponent. We're going to say it's going to be Orange Blend. So, oops. Orange. We'll find there's Orange Blend Girls. We click on that. Here's the new thing for new and old alike. This is the new wrinkle. This is why we're doing a big reason why we're doing this. This is a new question right here. Should this dual match be grouped in your standings? What this is asking you, and I can't reiterate this enough, it is asking you if this is a league match or not. Okay, league match means if you're part of Palomar League, so you're Rancho Bernardo, you're playing Poway or Mount Carmel or Del Norte, those are all league matches. If you're Rancho Bernardo playing La Jolla Country Day, that is not a league match. Okay, so it's a yes or no question here. So if it is a league match and league match only, you're going to hit yes. Okay. So it's going to ask you, are you sure? It makes you think about it. Yes, it's going to be a league match. And then you're going to put in your prerequisite time, date and time right here. You just select, and most of you are going to be either 3:30, or 4. Let's say it's a late start, so 4 o'clock. And then you're going to choose the location. Is it going to be at Valhalla or is it going to be at Orange Glen? This is at Valhalla. And I'm not going to create it because I don't want to mess up Don's schedule. Here's the nice thing though.
You got it right though.
Make sure you want to click this on because that way you can put the work into your first event. That way you have this check. It says use my last event as a template. So what Don set up, he set up that first one against Point Loma where he had the 1, 2, 3 for every single position. This was checked on. So that way the next time he carries it over, all he's got to do is set these parameters, hit create. It's going to automatically populate with all those different placements. So you don't have to add 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 all over again. It'll just copy your last match you did and carry that over to the next match. Okay, so that's the beauty of that. And that makes it easy. That's why I said if you do the setup once, you can keep that format the rest of the way through. So I'm going to not carry through that, so I don't want to mess up Don's schedule. Okay, and say if, let's go back.
Ask a question, Ron.
One more thing, Chris, and I'll stop sharing here in a sec.
Okay.
So say if, oh, you know what, I forgot. You know, Mira Mesa is in my league. All right, so I need to redo that. I didn't make it a league match. These 3 buttons again, the beauty of the 3 buttons. You can click there. You can include the match in those team standings. It's like, you know what, that should be a league match. I'm going to do that. I'm going to include it as a league match. Same thing conversely here. Let me find Steel Canyon. So, oh, this wasn't a league match. So I need to take it off my standings. You're going to have that option, omit from team standings. Okay, so that way it takes it out. The reason being that is important. I'm going to go back to his overview page. This is new. Some of you may have seen this happen or appear during the spring. This team standings listing right here. This is going to show your league standings. Okay, so I believe they're in Grossmont. It's a 50-50 because I never remember, but Grossmont Valley. It's going to show the Grossmont Valley because that's the league that Valhalla is a part of. It's going to show the league standings there. It's going to show Valhalla's at number 1 right now at 3-0. Steel Canyon's at 2 at 2-1, and so forth. Okay, the league standings will start showing up. When you start playing your 21-22 school year matches, this will flip over to 21-22. Right now, there's only matches from 2019 to 20 that are active on Valhalla's page. That's why it's saying that right now. But you're going to have, once your other matches for this season are active, it'll start listing 21-22 there. Okay, that'll flip over. All right, this is important, guys, because I'm going to stop sharing here for a sec. This is important because we talked about the seedings. All right, we are going to look at your league standings because we had the case the last girls season where we had a team that was seeded higher than they should have been. They had 1 good player and the rest of the team was distinctly lower in their UTRs. If we had looked at the league standings, that would have helped us make a better call on how they should have been seeded in the playoffs. Okay, that is why the league standings are not going to be the sole factor, but they're going to help us make sure we're doing the seedings correctly. That is why these league standings are important on your page. It gives us a quick reference. For those of you that have been with us for at least 5 years, you know how difficult that was, hard to do 5 years ago. We would have to stop the meeting. Well, Jerry's not here. Jerry Sagawa's not here. Who has his number? Let's call him. So we'd sit there and spend 5 to 10 minutes in that meeting to track down, Jerry, how'd you do in your league? Okay, this now provides real-time information so we can take a look at, okay, in the seedings, Steel Canyon, they're seated below, they finished in the Power 9 below Valhalla, but in the league standings, they beat them twice. That gives us more information to make a more accurate seeding when we look at the playoffs. That's going to help us determine those little corrections. And it doesn't happen often, guys, but at least we have that information now, so we're not wasting our time as a group and trying to track information down. That is why it is important. The last piece of information before I get to you, Chris, here. When you're entering your schedule, everybody has to enter their home schedule and just your home schedule. The reason being is we had a lot of duplicates in years past. They put in your full schedule, you put in your home and away. So if Mira Mesa was playing at Rancho Bernardo and both of you entered that match, it would show up twice on each of your schedules. Okay, but now if Chris is the home at Mira Mesa and he enters it, it's going to show up on Rancho Bernardo's schedule as an away match. Michael doesn't have to do anything there. Okay, so in theory, if everybody enters their home schedule, the away matches for you will show up if that school that you're going to puts that in the schedule. Okay, so that will prevent duplicates. It's much easier for us to add a match later on than it is for us to go back and delete a match. Because a lot of times when duplicate matches were happening, Mira Mesa would enter the scores in one of the matches, RB would enter the scores in the other match that had their scores there, and nothing would be complete. So here, we're asking you moving forward, only enter your home schedules. Okay, and I'll add a wrinkle to that. So I'll pause right there, but Chris, go ahead and ask your question.
You have answered both my questions, Ron. Very good. Thank you.
Very good.
And please, Chris.
I wish I was that good on that. Okay.
So, Ron, I have a question just to clarify. Not only when I'm setting up matches, I'm going to go through my schedule. I'm going to set up my home matches, and when the match occurs, me as the home head coach will be the only person inputting the scores.
Thank you, Sean. You just segued into the next session here.
Great.
So when you set up your schedules, you're all good. So that's right. So San Diego, Sean's at San Diego High School. So welcome, Sean. You're hosting Orange Glen. You've played your match. Some of you, there's not many, but some of you may do this on your iPad or computer if you have Wi-Fi on your courts and do it real time. But most of you are going to use your match sheets and write it down and then enter this later. So the responsibility for entering scores after the match has been done falls on the home coach. Okay. With that said, we're asking you to keep up with everything. In other words, you play a full schedule that week. You play on Tuesday, Thursday. We're not expecting you to enter the scores that evening on each match. The expectation is to enter the scores for the week by Friday or Saturday or Sunday for that fact. That way, because we're going to put up the rankings every Monday. Starting September 15th, I'm going to get a report from UTR, and we're going to post on the CIF webpage, here are the weekly rankings for September 15th, September 22nd, September 29th. That way the information's up to date based on the results up to the day before, whether it's the 14th or the 21st, whatever. Okay. We're hoping everybody does that, because that way when you look at the rankings, oh, okay, this week we're right now in we're number 8 in Division 2. All right, and that way you have a good idea. If you wait, and I keep using this story because it's extreme, but it happened. San Pasquale a few years ago, Ron Pete, who stays on top of it. He was watching his team and making sure going into the playoffs last week, his team was ranked number 2. And this is before UTR. But the same applies. His team was number 2 going into the Division 2 of the last week of the season. All the reminders go out. Coaches, update your scores. Make sure they're into the system that we were using at the time. He logs in the night before the seeding meeting. His team had gone from number 2 in the rankings to number 17. He fell out of the playoffs because everybody else had updated their scores. Imagine you as a coach telling your kids, hey guys, we're number 2 going into the playoffs the last week of the season. Come to find out the seeding day, you're fighting for your team's life to be in the playoffs at all. Okay, because that's the fact of coaches not putting in the scores until late. If you do that enough each week, that provides you more of a real-time and accurate position to show you where you are in the playoffs, heading as you go from week to week. So that's why we're asking you, if you can do it week to week, that is the best thing you can do for your team and represent for all your coaches too, and everybody else, because you're all tied together. If Mira Mesa plays San Pasqual in the first week, if RB plays San Pasqual the following week, guess what? Mira Mesa and RB are now interconnected. If Mira Mesa doesn't enter those scores, RB's rankings are not going to be accurate because their common opponent, San Pasqual, doesn't have all the results in. Okay, so you are all dependent on each other. All right, so there's not even 6 degrees. It's essentially 2 degrees of separation, everybody here. Okay, so that is why it's important. That's why we can't stress enough why we're doing this, that everybody needs to do their part and make sure their page is up to date. And then doing it in a timely manner.
It's fairly easy to have everything entered by the end of the week. I mean, I choose to do it, my scores, the night after or the night of my match, because then I'm looking to get the results from my JV match so I can enter their scores as well. So
as you guys are setting me up perfectly on that one, Mike. So JV matches. Okay, I showed you here where Don had set up the JV matches on his varsity page as well. Both coaches have access to that score sheet. If you're an organizer, so like Sean, you asked, if Cathedral's hosting you, Cathedral is a home team, you can actually still go in. You could put in the JV scores if you'd like. Or you can give them to the home coach, to April, she's the Cathedral coach, and she can enter them. So you both have access to it. The nice thing is the system, when you put in scores, and the most important thing, let me go, I'll show you this here in a second, is when you're done entering scores, everybody, publish is the important button. Well, you have to publish your scores, because if things are not published, things will not become live. Those results will not go into your UTR Power 9 or your individual players' UTRs as well. Those scores need to be published in order for those to count towards your rankings. And I'll show you where that is here on the screen. All right, so you've entered all your scores. You put the score in here, all conceivably 36 scores. Your overall score needs to be manually put in up here. Okay, these do not change as you enter the scores down here in your results. This has to manually put in, and it's just your varsity score. All right, so say if it was 11 for Point Loma and 7 for Valhalla, and that's your final score, you could check off who the winner is, and then you publish. That will make it live. That will show up on your league standings. All the results will go into your players' rankings. It will go into your Power 9 computations for your divisional rankings. Okay. If for some reason you tied, if it's 9-9, put the game score in. So say if the game score was, it's 9-9, but say if the final game score was 82-80. We're gonna know when we look at the score, it's like, oh, Point Loma 82-80. That means it was 9-9, 82-80 in games. Say if it's 80-80 in games, what's it on the final tiebreaker? Is the number of double sets, varsity double sets. So there's 9 of those. So the final score there will be 5-4. You publish. If we see 5-4 or any variation of 9 points, we're gonna know that was the second tiebreaker. All right. So we'll know in that. It just, again, the key thing is marking who wins and having that accurate score there if possible. Okay. It's more important, guys, that the scores, the individual set scores, are important because those factor into your players' UTRs as well as your team UTR. This is just more of an overview. It does not compute into anything here. Okay, so it's more important that these scores are accurate versus these scores. And so when you're done, publish. Say, for example, you know what, you're the visiting coach and you look at this match. If there's something that's incorrect, so say if Lana beat Taylor, it was listed as 6-1, but it was supposed to be 6-3. You can actually, it'll say unpublish here. You unpublish, you can fix that result down here and publish again. Anytime a match is published, you will both know as coaches because you're going to get an email saying that your UTR match, Point Loma versus Valhalla, has been posted or has been updated, depending on what the situation is. Both coaches are going to get that. So that way, okay, you know what? I'm Valhalla. I put everything in. but Point Loma went in and changed something, Don at Valhalla is going to get an email. The Point Loma Valhalla match was updated. He could go in and check. It notifies both head organizers, both coaches on each team. All right, so that way there's no, oh, he's not going to know after I did this, or she's not going to know after I did this.
And it's also probably a good idea if you do have that kind of an issue to contact the other coach directly.
Correct. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Kevin.
That's why we have the email addresses on the and the coaches, all the coaches' email address and contact info.
Ron, that page that you were just on, that setup where it said girls singles 1, girls singles 2, is that set up or is that something that I'm going to have to do? And if it is it pretty intuitive? Is it difficult to set it up like that? Because I liked that format. That looked good to me. I got what I was seeing.
Yeah, no, you'll be able to set that up, Sean, the first time. You just have to do it once, because every subsequent match you set up after that, it'll ask you if you want to copy the last template you did.
Okay, got it. But there's not, I don't have to drag or click, or it'll show up similar to that. It's not like I can build mine out different than another coach's.
Yeah, you can build it out however you want. I mean, it's just you got to make sure the results get put in, and this is probably the most organized manner that Don came up with. And like I said, it looks like a lot, and it shouldn't, because it's just easily just typing in a name and then select, adding a singles match or adding a doubles match. You're clicking and doing that stuff as well. So again, it'll probably take you 5 to 10 minutes once. Then after that, again, it's just making sure that copy the last template when you schedule your other matches as well.
And to reiterate what Ron said, communication is the absolute key to eliminating any kind of problems or difficulties at all, and just having that back and forth communication with the coaches. If you notice something in the UTRs, talk, email, and that eliminates 90% of the problems.
All right, any questions on that, guys? No,
just a quick question, Ron, about the when you have the schedule posted up there, and to the right it says draft next to the match.
Mm-hmm.
Is that because the match hasn't been published officially, or?
Correct. Right. Draft just because it's been created, but nothing's been entered and published.
Or if it was entered, but they forgot to press publish, that's why it's still listed as a draft.
Correct. That's another thing we could double check also, Mike. So say if again, Mike, you're at let's go, you're at Coronado with Rob, and you're happy to just check on your match at his place, and you go on there and it still says draft. You're right. It's not being counted at anything right now, because drafts again are just exactly that, drafts. Once it's published and posted, that means it's officially part of your player's record and your team record.
I think that was something last year, is when matches went back to correct some scores or correct some names of players, that some of the matches weren't published again. Yeah. So that was just something that I noticed last year.
Yeah. Well, that is important, guys. When you're done, make sure the last step you do is hit publish. If you didn't hit publish and you were updating, that means none of it got saved. So make sure it says publish.
I'm assuming that if there's a rain out or a reschedule, that you can edit the match date and time, and it will just naturally fill itself, or relocate itself.
I want to say yes. I know that was an issue on some of the matches 2 years ago, because I didn't think we had that many rainouts last year. But I believe so. Where you edit the match, Sean, you should be able to change that time. If that's something technical where you thought you've done it and it's still not showing up, you let Jonathan and myself know. And I know he has the admin rights to override anything, so he should be able to update that for you.
All right, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Suggestion though, that is a great point there, Sean. Say if your match does get rained out, I would not create a whole new match, guys, because just creating more duplicate matches around just messes with your schedule. So if it gets rained out or postponed, use the 3 buttons and hopefully the edit match changes it, or contact Jonathan and myself. We'll get that moved over for you with the correct date and time.
And again, for the new people, Jonathan is extraordinary. It's never taken more than a day for me to get him to fix anything that I needed fixed.
You know what, though, take advantage of it, guys, because right now it's UTR is doing a good job signing on high school districts. They've signed on, I think, Wisconsin, New York, and I want to say Massachusetts in the last month. So a lot of other high school associations are jumping on board. Let me show you. Let's see. Okay.